Hey everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. We did a 5-day forecast earlier on. Very wet today. After that, we're going to see a lot of dry weather actually after today. But if you want to know about the coming 5 days and the weather for the coming 5 days, check out the 5-day forecast. This is going to be a quick update having a look at the stratosphere over the North Pole. I said in the 5-day forecast that we've had a really quite a big warming event taking place over the stratosphere in the North Pole again over the past few days, and quite a dramatic warming indeed. So I'll show you it in a second. Whether this is going to have any impact on our weather, I'm not sure. We've had a couple of warmings during this winter so far. It hasn't really done a great deal for us, but it's getting very late now. You will think the polar vortex is weakening anyway, should be weakening anyway over the North Pole. So this could be a bit of a killing blow to it as we get into April, but then you would expect it to be dying a bit of a death, the polar vortex in April anyway. It's just going to depend where the blocking sets up, I think, during the course of late March and early April as to whether we get cold weather. In theory, we could get a very cold spell, and April isn't too late to get snow. Even down in the south you can get snow, but particularly in the north you can get still quite a lot of snow actually. Scotland, Northern England in April. So we'll have a look at the warming in a second. Following on with that, just very quickly to mention the ads at GavsWeatherViz. There's links to articles on all of the pages. If you could have a browse widgets, have a browse through the widgets and click through the links, you'll be helping to pay for the website. But only click them if you're actually interested in the article, of course. There's also video as those pages, which I've about the content when you watch them, close back up again. It is all helping to pay for GavsWeatherVids.com. So this is the stratospheric temperature profile at 10 HPA over the North Pole. This is from the Japanese Meteorological Agency. So we've got 10 HPA temperature over the North Pole 2015-2016. The grey line is the trend line, so you'd expect us to be warming now. The dates on the bottom, so January is about when we get to the coldest point of the whole of the year, December, January, in the stratosphere over North Pole. Then you see from the grey line, we do trend up. So it is a warming time, but the black line tells us where we've been with the stratospheric temperature. Very cold stratosphere over North Pole through most of the winter, but at the start of February we had one little warming. Then later on in February you had a more significant warming event, and we've just had another one. There it is. This is the latest stratospheric warming that has occurred over the top of the North Pole in the stratosphere, and quite a significant warming as well, a bigger warming than the one that occurred in early February. Remember, the idea behind this is that when you've got a cold stratospheric temperature in the North Pole, it tends to feed back to increased westerlies for us with a strong polar vortex. So when the stratosphere is cold in the North Pole, it enhances the polar vortex, means the polar vortex is stronger, and the polar vortex is what keeps all the cold air bottled up over the top of the North Pole, stops it penetrating down into mid latitudes, and that for us usually means westerly Atlantic driven weather, which of course is what we had through most of the winter. Now that's the very top layer of the atmosphere at 10 HPA. That's right at the very top of the atmosphere. A little bit lower down is 30 HPA. And this is a warming event that's taken place at 30 HPA. And look at this, we've pretty much gone off the scale actually in terms of this warming. I've never seen a stratospheric warming event quite that dramatic at 30 HPA. I've seen it once or twice at 10 HPA, pretty much go off the scale. I've never seen it at 30 HPA, so that's very unusual to see the warming that's taken place, the temperature absolutely shoot up and go off the scale in terms of that layer of the stratosphere. Remember, this is a bit lower down, because so it's closer to the troposphere, and the troposphere is where weather is taking place. Usually what happens with these events is that we warm up the top layer first, then it goes down to the 30 HPA layer, and then you get a reversal, and it goes down, the warming goes down into the troposphere, and it's in the troposphere, but we basically set up blocking via this bubble of warm air. So a really dramatic warming event is taking place at 30 HPA, and again you can see been a very unusual winter. It was really cold through most of winter until we got to February. Look how far under the grey trend line we was through most of the winter. Again, that is associated with all of those westerly winds and mild weather we had through most of the winter. Then we've had quite a few warmings actually through the course of February. We've been having a go at it, but never really come to a great deal, although this one just here was quite significant. But now this one, the latest one, where we've gone off the scale in terms of the temperature at 30 HPA, that really does look very, very significant indeed. It doesn't guarantee, however, that we will definitely get blocking from that. So this is the current temperature profile over the North Pole in terms of the stratosphere. This is from the GFS. So this is how things are standing today on the 9th of March. This is at 10 HPA, so it's a little bit higher up than the 30 HPA where we've gone off the scale. But you can see how warm it's looking. All of those blue colours that we had earlier in the winter associated with that strong polar vortex and the cold stratosphere, that's all gone, and it's sort of yellow colours now. So it does look like the stratosphere is completely warmed over the pole and pretty much killed off the polar vortex, at least at that top layer. Of course, it's still going at the moment lower down. We'll have to wait and see whether the polar vortex is actually destroyed in the troposphere, but certainly its roots in the stratosphere look as though they really have taken a battering with this warm area that we've got over the top of the pole. Things are forecast to stay pretty warm in the stratosphere over the North Pole as well, and in fact we have a go at doing another warming next week. So look at that, the red colours are appearing again on the 15th of March. That's next Tuesday. More red colours appearing there in the stratosphere over towards Siberia, but it's going to help to keep these warm temperatures going in the stratosphere over the North Pole for the coming couple of weeks. Probably we're going to keep it pretty warm at 10 HPA, no doubt, warmer than average at 30 HPA as well. Now, is there any sign of this eventually translating back into colder weather for us? That is the question. Getting very late on into the year now. We're into the spring. But as I say, it's not too late to certainly get frost, and we can get snow as well. Let's just see how the GFS is predicting things for the next couple of weeks. So it's starting off on Sunday, and as I explained in the 5-day forecast, we're going to have a lot of dry weather with high pressure over the country during the weekend. We go into next week, that high pressure stays with us, and that goes on up to Wednesday the 16th. So a lot of high pressure influences coming up through the coming week. Not necessarily all that cold, although we will bring in a bit of a chilly easterly down in the south. But this isn't northern blocking at this stage. We go beyond that to the second half of next week, though, and we are seeing hints of retrogression here. If I go back and show you the chart for Tuesday the 15th, there's the high pressure over the UK and stretching into Europe. Just watch where it goes as we move through to Thursday. It's centred across the north of Scotland. This is Thursday the 17th, a week tomorrow. Move through to Friday the 18th, and the high pressure is centred over Iceland. So this is called retrogression. This is where we take pressure from east to west, as opposed to the normal zonal flow, which is west to east. Whenever we get retrogression of high pressure, it's a sign that the atmosphere is behaving rather differently, because the way we revolve around the sun and the westerlies and jet stream that come across the Atlantic basically means that we should always be in a zonal flow. We aren't always in a zonal flow, but we are mostly in a zonal flow. So when we get retrogression, which is going against the zonal flow, that is a sign that something unusual is starting to happen in the atmosphere. And there are definitely hints of retrogression to the end of next week from the GFS. Doesn't really come to anything particularly cold, and this is how we end up actually on Friday the 25th of March. It's a Good Friday towards the end of the month, and you see we have got above average heights, high pressure around Greenland. We bring down a lot of cold air to the north of us, but things just aren't quite aligned right to deliver all that much cold weather to us. However, you can see from the upper air temperatures just how poised things are to deliver quite a cold shot for Easter. It's not far off from being quite a cold and snowy Easter, that one. So we've got hints of retrogression there within the GFS output for the next week to 10 days, particularly later next week. There are signs that we take the high pressure that's going to be giving us a fairly pleasant weekend and possibly try and shift it up towards Greenland. We've got this southern stratospheric warming that has taken place. It's happened, it's still going on over the North Pole. It could be shaping up for really quite a cold end to March and beginning of April. I wouldn't be surprised if we did unleash something quite unseasonably cold at the end of the month. But it's been one of those winters where we've struggled to really set this up all the way along. So whether it actually comes to anything, I'm hedging my bets a bit on this, I have to say. The hints are there, but something quite dramatic could happen at the end of March. It'll coincide with Easter, probably, if it does. The hints are there, but because of how this winter has played out, it's been a very frustrating winter for cold and snow lovers, because we have seen scenarios cropping up that you would think might evolve something cold and wintry, and it hasn't come off. But this warming event is very significant that's taking place at 30 HPA, and it's just going to be a case of how things set up, whether they set up quite right to deliver us cold weather. Let's wait and see. But we'll be looking at it again over the next few days, I can assure you of that. Right, that's all for now. Don't forget 5-day forecast. If you haven't watched it yet, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.